Championship leader Sam Sheehan is not on the grid in lightweights today, and there's no B finals either. Sam might regret missing an opportunity to extend his championship lead of 16 points on Greg Aaron. Greg is here, but the man to watch is James Reveller, just 4 points behind, and a winner last time out at Rye House. And it's Reveller qualifying a tenth of a second quicker than Luke Cousins, who takes pole position for final one as the fastest driver in either qualifying group. Daniel Truman was fastest in Group 1, so he takes Grid 2. Cousins is joined on Row 2 by Frederick Gallagher, ahead of him and fourth in the championship. Zach Swannell and Jamie Armstrong start on Row 3. Miguel Hall looks to put Rye House behind him and qualifies ahead of Glenn Beard on Row 4. Richard Ward and James Bailey round out the top 10. Greg Aaron could only qualify in 15th, so may struggle to take over the championship lead on what is a 29-car grid for this first final. And here we go then, James Reveller brings them through to start-finish. And we're racing at Ellough Park in lightweight class in the first final. A lot of loading going on into turn 1. Richard Ward forcing his way past Miguel Hall in the blue and green, and Daniel Truman on the outside. And Ward is determined to have 5th, but that's going to end up in the pocket of Miguel Hall as he cuts through on the inside into turn 3. Truman to the inside of Ward at turn 4. He'll run him out wide and give a chance to Glenn Beard. It's fairly frantic stuff in the early running here, but it's Reveller ahead of Luke Cousins. Gap then to Swannell under pressure from Freddie Gallagher and Miguel Hall, who's dropped back to 5th. Down into turn 7, filtering through into 8. Oh, Mike Bruford's been turned round. Down the inside, who's that? That's Miguel Hall on Freddie Gallagher. Eric Mignon trying to hold off James Bailey. And we come round to finish lap 1. And Reveller's leads half a second, and look at the advantage they have on Swannell. 2 seconds clear. The field stream through. Mignon looking down the inside of Jamie Armstrong, but can't get it done. He's trying to close in on Oscar John Cook, who comes through in 10th. James Bailey looking down the inside of Greg Aaron. Can't get it done. Chris Penny in the red. Looking down the inside of Kenan Vedat. Contact there. Miguel Hall on Zach Swannell, and Bailey rearranges the track furniture as he goes down the inside of Harrison Darville. Corrigan coming through. He's past Josh Batty as well. I've no idea what position that is. It's in the midfield somewhere. We'll just have to let this race settle down a bit. I think it's 15th place. So Bailey holding off Corrigan, but Corrigan's coming down into turn 9. Bailey had it covered and then he opened the door for him. Josh Batty looking to pick up a spot from Bailey, can't get it done. Darville will have a chance down at turn 1. Miguel Hall ahead of Zach Swannell, Freddie Gallagher, Glenn Beard, and then Daniel Truman, Rich Ward, Oscar John Cook behind Julian Clist, but looking for a way by. Mignon was going to try inside of Jamie Armstrong into turn 2, and I'm not sure he's got it done. I don't think he has. Harrison Darville moving on to the bumper of Josh Batty. That's the fight for 16th place. They're closing on Bailey, and Batty gets good drive out of turn 4. Bailey must have made a mistake there for that to happen. Down into turn 7. Tim Campbell sideways on the brakes there. About to lose a position, I believe. I think it's Tom Lee to his inside. We can't see yet. That looks a bit like Tom Lee. Oh, over the curbs, and he's going to lose another spot as he loses all his momentum. Frankie Hedges is behind him. Oh, there's more contact. I think I heard the screech of brakes there as Keith Segal got fired off. Bailey and Chris Penny. Well, I'm not quite sure what's going on there either. It's all a bit messy. James Bailey, though, is ahead of Chris Penny in 17th. Oh, Penny coming straight back at him into turn 4. Bailey runs wide, and I think the position will be Penny's into 5. So Keith Segal getting back in his car, so he's all right. More contact there, Campbell. And it's actually Chris Skivia ahead of him. Oh, sideways in on the brakes there. David Longman on Tom Lee. Fastest lap for James Reveller, and fastest lap from this final will set the grid for final 2. So as this field strings out, everybody's got to press on. There's always something to race for, even if it's your grid slot in final 2. Frankie Hedges under pressure from Daniel Becker. Zach Swannell pushes through on Miguel Hall to go 3rd. Glenn Beard is now next man up. Daniel Becker moves through to 20th place ahead of Tim Campbell. Is Campbell going to strike back into turn 4? He's looking down the inside. I think he'd be better off trying to follow for a corner or two. Frankie Hedges under pressure from Lewis Pyle, David Longman. Penny ahead of Bailey once again. So Penny moves up and into 17th place. Reveller down into turn 1. Pulling clear, 1.4 seconds clear of Luke Cousins, who in turn has 4.2 seconds on this battle for third. And Swannell's run wide over the curb on the exit of turn 1 and a chance for Hall. Inside into turn 2 and the position is his. Hang on. Oh, Swannell straight back under him. But he's got the position into 4. Oh, he's taken a wide line in because Swannell's come through again. Zach Swannell made a mistake off turn 1 and is determined to hang on to third at any price, it would appear. Well, that's bunched the field up. Glenn Beard now joins in with Daniel Truman, Freddie Gallagher, and there's more contact out at turn 8. Hall's ahead though. Down into 9, Truman, Gallagher, Ward, Oscar John Cook, Julian Clist coming through in 10th place. A lot of contact in this group does not bode well for later on. Sweeping across start finish. And McGill Hall's pulled out a couple of cart lengths on Zach Swannell in 4th place. Glenn Beard closing in. Swannell took a look over his shoulder on the exit of turn 1. Corner he appears to be struggling with. Oh, and he's left a barn door open inside of turn 4, and Beard says thank you very much. And I'm not really sure what Zach is waving his arm about. So if there's anybody guilty of contact as much as anybody else, it is Zach Swannell. Out of turn 7 and 8, and there's more contact and more waving of arms. Frankie Gallagher looking down the inside of Truman, and Zach Swannell spins into him, and I'm guessing he's driven over his leg on the exit, and I'm not entirely sure what Zach's trying to say there. I think he might regret this when he sees it. James Reveller's lead, 1.5 seconds on Luke Cousins at the end of lap 7. Oscar John Cook now looking down the inside of Julian Clist for what has become a battle for 7th place. Rich Ward has pulled out a few cart lengths. Cook to the inside, Clist inside of turn 3. The road's in Cook's favour, into 4. And where's Eric Mignon? Looking down the inside if he can. Well, everybody jumps up a couple of places as Swannell and Gallagher drop to the back of the field on timing and scoring. David Longman's got ahead of Frankie Hedges for what is now 21st place. Look at the lead that James Reveller's got. He's pulled out another couple of tenths on Luke Cousins, and Cousins, well, he's 6.5 seconds clear of Miguel Hall in 3rd place, who's making it his own. He's over 2 seconds clear of Glenn Beard. So we'll have to look for battles further back. John Corrigan coming through in 11th place, looking to get into the top 10 ahead of Jamie Armstrong. Greg Aaron having a quiet run in 12th. Corrigan takes a look over his shoulder, sees Aaron there, realises he's got to be careful in trying to find a way past the driver ahead of him when you've got somebody on your bumper. Oh, and there's frantic stuff going on here as well. Tim Campbell ahead of a group including David Longman, Tom Lee, Frankie Hedges, Richard Ward coming through in 6th place. Looks as though Oscar John Cook though is after that spot. Keith Segal has dropped into this midfield battle and has got in the way of Julian Clist, and that may prove costly. Jamie Armstrong and Eric Mignon in close company, and Armstrong's down the inside of Clist. Will be disappointed to lose that spot due to a back marker, and Mignon's coming through as well inside of 2, and I think Corrigan might have a chance into 3, although he gives Clist the room to run around the outside and inside of turn 4. So Clist down to 10th. Oscar John Cook on the bumper of Richard Ward through turn 6. Not close enough for 7, but a chance maybe down into 9. Hands in the air. Wonder who that's for. That's probably for Freddie Gallagher, who seemed to be struggling with an injury from that clash with Zach Swannell. Coming through to start their 11th lap of this 15-lap final. Oscar John Cook continues to press on Richard Ward. Looking down the inside into turn 2, it's on this time. Inside at the apex through into turn 3. Chance for maybe Jamie Armstrong to throw one down the inside of turn 4. Ward goes in narrow, following Oscar John Cook. There's your race leader, a long way ahead of that group. Sweeping through 6. On the brakes into 7. I've got a feeling Oscar John Cook went in quite deep there into turn 7, causing him to look over his shoulder to see where Rich Ward is for turn 9. End of another lap, and Clist is down the inside of Mignon into the last corner, can't get it done, and the pair will lose ground on Jamie Armstrong ahead of them. Corrigan might join this group at the rate he's going. Out of turn 1. Light dab on the brakes into 2. Try and ascribe a constant, neat line through 3. Sort it out where you're going to run into turn 4 from. Hard on the throttle on the exit. I think Armstrong and Mignon are going at it through turn 5 and 6. On the brakes then again into 7. Nice line on the exit of 8 to get a good run down to 9. Fairly standard hairpin. Glenn Beard coming through in 4th place, comfortably clear of Daniel Truman, who has nearly 3 seconds on Oscar John Cook in 6th. So the top 5 of this first final looks fairly settled, even 2.5 laps from the finish. It's been a dominant performance from James Reveller, and we've not seen much of him because of that, because there's really not much point watching somebody drive round on their own. On board with Miguel Hall in 3rd. Through turn 6, there's Beard. Truman in 5th. We'll look for Oscar John Cook. Well, we're back to the leader, coming through to start his penultimate lap. No one able to touch him, and another fast lap. Just reinforcing pole position for final 2. Rich Ward trying to get back on terms with Oscar John Cook. It's a few car lengths, and that should be enough. Eric Mignon, though, has got a chance to get past Jamie Armstrong down to turn 1. Takes a look, doesn't do it this time. The laps are ticking away. Just a lap and a half or so from the finish, and Mignon's down the inside of turn 2. Armstrong gives himself a little bit of room to work with, knowing that the road will go his favour into turn 4. And this is a chance for Clist to close in as well. There's a few places still up for grabs and points in the championship at the end of this final. Daniel Becker trying to close in on Chris Scivier for 17th. On to the final lap then for James Reveller. He qualified in pole position and no one's been able to touch him. Out of turn 1 on the first lap. Through turn 3. The back marker's ahead, but he still has nearly 2 seconds on Luke Cousins. This one really should be in the bag. Final lap board goes out to Harrison Darville. Quiet final for him. Coming through in 14th place, so a good finish on the cards for Harrison. Last couple of corners for James Reveller. He's running in behind a back marker that I don't think will be an issue. He can cruise it from here into turn 10 and out. It's a second win. That counts as a winning streak. So a second win in 2 starts for James Reveller. Ahead of Luke Cousins, Miguel Hall comes through in 3rd place to put Ryhouse behind him.
This driver starting pit 7 and finishing 3rd and receives the trophy. Congratulations to driver number 8, Miguel Hall. And to our runner-up in final number 1 for this lightweight class yesterday, finishing just 1.7 seconds behind the eventual winner. He started on grid number 3, finished from runner-up. That's driver number 25, Luke Cousins. But to our race winner then for round number 7, which is final run here at and apart from the lightweight class. Started pole position, won the race. Congratulations, driver number 9, James Reveller. Okay, big smiles, boys, please. Okay, well done. Another round of applause. Our top 3 from final number 1 in the lightweight class.
What an opportunity for James Reveller to take a clean sweep here at Ellough Park. Fastest in qualifying, a win in final one, the lead of the championship. His fastest lap in final one also qualifies him on pole for final two. Luke Cousins moves up to the front row to try and stop him. Miguel Hall looked to have got his championship back on track with a podium in final one, starting on row two with Daniel Truman. Richard Ward and the loose cannon that is Zach Swannell start on row 3, Oscar John Cook and Josh Petit on row 4. Julian Clist and Chris Penny round out the top 10, and it's 29 karts then on the grid for the last final of the day. Out of turn 10, James Reveller drops the hammer now onto the main straight. He's got the jump on the outside line, and it's Reveller ahead of Miguel Hall into turn 1. Where's Luke Cousins going to filter in out of turn 1? Hard to tell, we'll have to wait a bit longer. Into turn 2, and Julian Clist is down the inside. Got Glenn Beard on his bumper of Daniel Truman. And it's Reveller, Miguel Hall, Rich Ward up to 3rd ahead of Luke Cousins. Oscar John Cook in 5th, ahead of Julian Clist, Glenn Beard, Daniel Truman, Chris Penny well up in 9th place. And I think Zach Swannell's in about 10th place as they go down to turn 7. Reveller keeping to the apexes, tidily through turn 7 and 8. Ward on the defensive to hold off Cousins. Clist on the defensive to hold off Beard. Penny trying to find a way past Truman. Zach Swannell in 10th place. Gap then to Corrigan, Aaron, Jamie Armstrong, Frederick Gallagher, Eric Mignon, Harrison Darville, James Bailey. Into turn 1. And Ward went in very deep and very narrow, and Cousins is through. And through to 3rd place. Will Ward attempt to get back through inside of turn 3? Well, he would have if he could have. But Cousins was having none of it. There's a lot of bunching up behind. Harrison Darville ahead of Freddie Gallagher. That's for about 14th place, I think. Sweeping through 6. Over the hump and then on the brakes for the hairpin at 7. And that plastic wall of barriers has been moved out the way. That's opened up turn 8. John Corrigan down the inside of Chris Penny. That's for about, I think about 10th place. On to lap 3. Reveller's lead is 0.6 of a second. Glenn Beard looking at the inside of Oscar John Cook for 5th. Goes through, goes a long way in though. Gets it squared off on the exit. Not sure what the conversation is, but it's something to do with Richard Ward ahead of them. Something along the lines of, will one of you get on with it please? Oscar John Cook, Glenn Beard. They're rubbing side pods and letting in Julian Clist. The conversation, the international hand gestures continue. Sweeping through 6 on the limit. Down on the brakes. Trying to make a late apex to straight line the exit through turn 8. Clist holding off Daniel Truman. Swannell the inside of Truman. That's fairly even and fair. Over start finish to start lap 4. Swannell stays in 9th place ahead of Chris Penny. Swannell took a lot of curb on the inside of turn 1, did himself no favours, but has kept the momentum up. And down the inside of Julian Clist goes Daniel Truman. A lot of contact from Swannell pushing his way through. Now if the clerks have seen that, that could be a penalty on its own. Through 6. And Miguel Hall's under pressure from Luke Cousins. Bit sideways on the brakes there into 7, and it's game on for 2nd place. Another cavalry charge for a group behind. Battle for 7th. Swannell, Truman, Clist. Penny in 10th. Jamie Armstrong coming through in 11th. There he is, ahead of Eric Mignon, Freddie Gallagher, Harrison Darville, John Corrigan. Bruford looking down the inside of Keith Segal, can't get it done. Love tap there, I think, from David Longman. Over start finish to start their lap 5. Chris Skivier down the inside of John Corrigan for 16th. Apologies for coming late to some of these. Luke Cousins down the inside of Miguel Hall for 2nd. Zach Swannell under pressure from Daniel Truman. Yes, apologies for coming late to some of these, but there's so many battles going on. It's not easy to pick them up all the time. So Swannell remains under pressure from Truman in that fight for 7th place. Zach ran a bit deep there into turn 8. Perhaps carrying too much speed, or he missed his apex or took an early apex into 7. That's put Truman back on his bumper. Clist, Penny, Jamie Armstrong, Greg Aaron crossed up going in to turn 10. Might be under pressure from Eric Mignon down at turn 1. Down the inside of Mike Bruford. Josh Petit goes through. Greg Aaron having another quiet final like he did in final 1. And Jamie Armstrong runs out over the curbs on the exit of turn 1. It's easy to do. It tightens turn 1. And it's very inviting, wide open on the way in. But that exit curb comes up quickly. And additionally, it's a sort of dome-shaped curb. So once you get on the top of it, your wheels break contact with the ground. And you're just running on your belly and over it and all over the place. But he's managed to hold the spot. Greg Aaron hasn't got back through. He's run deep into turn 8 though. And Freddie Gallagher carrying a sore leg from being driven over by Zach Swannell. He's running in behind Eric Mignon. So Freddie Gallagher in 14th. And we're getting close to half distance. James Reveler's lead still 1.1 seconds ahead of Luke Cousins. So nothing given, nothing taken. Keith Segal moves past John Corrigan in turn 1. Gallagher begins to press on Mignon. Taking a wide line into turn 4. Will he try and undercut him and get a run into 5? I don't think he's going to. Corrigan going backwards through this final, struggling. Losing spots as we go. Corrigan has a problem and he's had enough. He pulls out and into pit lane. So James Reveler is already on lap 8. We're through half distance. His lead now is 1.3 seconds. He took a tenth or so out of Luke Cousins on that last lap. David Longman was looking for a way by Petit down into turn 1. And he's got it done. Now can he square off that corner? Oh, somebody made a mess ahead of him. It was Lewis Pyle. Petit takes the position back. I think Bruford just went through on Daniel Becker, only to swap the positions between 2 and 3. There's your race leader. Smooth as you like. Comfortable Sunday drive for James. On board with Tim Campbell. That's Frankie Hedges ahead of us. Mike Bruford in the white. Daniel Becker. Oh, and where's Frankie Hedges gone? Some kind of problem for Hedges, I think. Well, we're into the second half of this final. James Reveler is looking like a shoe-in for back-to-back wins. Luke Cousins went a couple of tenths quicker, but it's nip and tuck for that pair. Cousins in second, Miguel Hall in third. Jamie Armstrong through on Chris Penny. Greg Aaron not making any progress in this final. Penny coming back at Armstrong into turn 4, gets it on the exit. Squeezed towards that plastic barrier midway down that back straight. Don't think we didn't see that. So a 5-way fight then for what is 10th place. Gallagher still can't find a way past Eric Mignon. He's trying again into turn 10. And he's through this time. Oh, Tim Campbell caught in between two mines there. A lunge. And getting out of it, it's cost him. Glenn Beard overtakes Richard Ward for 4th place. So we're seeing some movement in positions now. Oh, and Greg Aaron is late and hard on Jamie Armstrong into turn 2. That was borderline, but he's gone through and he has no intention of giving it back. Tim Campbell sits ashamed through lack of talent. On board with Miguel Hall in 3rd. Penny under pressure once again from Greg Aaron. Armstrong wants his spot back, that much is clear. Yellow flags, curtails overtaking at the hairpin. Coming round to start another lap. And this fight Julian Clist has escaped from. He's in 9th place. This is the battle for 10th. Headed by Chris Penny in the red, kart number 4. Greg Aaron, kart 31. Light contact there. Aaron on Penny, runs him out wide. If the observer's sharp-eyed, that could be a penalty for Aaron. Jamie Armstrong comes through as well. Freddie Gallagher with a move up the inside of Penny, and it's a poor 3 corners for Chris Penny, although he might get a position back into 5. Gallagher's having none of it though. Beard goes very deep into weight. And the only good thing about that is so did Richard Ward. Half a kart length down, coming out of 9. No look up the inside into 10. Oh, but Beard runs wide. Ward can not take advantage. He's got a run though going down into turn 1. Is it on? Not quite there. Although I think Beard's run wide and over the curb. Lucky to get away with that one. But Beard keeps the position. He hangs on to 4th place ahead of Richard Ward. And this could invite in Oscar John Cook and Zach Swannell. Well, not far behind. Out of 4 into 5. This is simple and flat out. Turn 6 is pretty much flat, but it's also about setting up for 7. And here comes Zach Swannell looking down the inside of Oscar John Cook for 6th place. Cook keeps it tidy. He's sure to go narrow down into 9. He shows Swannell the outside and Ward's through to 4th place. Running straight through Glenn Beard. And here comes Swannell down into 10. Gets out of it before there's contact. That's okay. On to lap 13 for that battle. Skivier looking down the inside of Keith Segal. Well, that was about 50-50. Segal's going to get it back on the exit. Josh Batiste sticks his nose in. Can't get the spot though. James Reveler's lead, 1.4 seconds clear of Luke Cousins. Luke Cousins has got nearly 3 seconds on Miguel Hall. Actually, it's 3.5 seconds. Harrison Darwell and Chris Penny rubbing side pods and bumpers. Oh, Julian Kliss gets turn 7 all wrong, runs out wide and gives away a position cheaply. He's given up 9th place to Greg Aaron. Glenn Beard wants 4th position back from Richard Ward. On to their penultimate lap. He's looking down the inside into turn 1. It's from a long way back. There's heavy contact. Well, that's dubious. Skivier tries again on Keith Segal and gets it done cleanly this time. David Longman and Josh Petit trying to get in the mix with them. Over start finish. That's 17th place for Skivier. Glenn Beard has decided to stay ahead of Richard Ward. He runs in 4th place. Zach Swannell closing in once again on Oscar John Cook down into turn 7. And that's a good clean move from Zach Swannell. Cook can have no complaints with that one. Dan Truman though also on the bumper of Oscar John Cook. And the final lap board is out. And James Reveler has gone through. His lead is still 1.3 seconds. He's heading for back-to-back wins. Luke Cousins is comfortable in 2nd. Miguel Hall has the best part of 6 seconds and change on Glenn Beard in 4th place. So the podium steps are decided. Julian Kliss under pressure from Jamie Armstrong in what is the fight for 10th. Gallagher looking inside of Armstrong into turn 2, can't get it done. Oscar John Cook is holding off Daniel Truman in the fight for 7th. There's your race leader, 2 corners from the finish. What a dominant performance here by James Reveler. It's a 3rd win of the season. He was 20 points off the lead coming into Ellough. He heads to Clay Pigeon with an 18-point lead over Luke Cousins, who finishes 2nd. Miguel Hall picks up a brace of 3rd places and can now put down Rye House as just an aberration. Zach Swannell down the inside of Glenn Beard late. Will it work? Round the final corner, yes it will, but he'll win no friends in doing so. He finishes 5th on the road but picks up a penalty that sees him demoted to 7th. And season best finishes then for Richard Ward and Oscar John Cook in 4th and 5th places.
For the race and finishing in 3rd place, congratulations again, a double podium for driver number 8, Miguel Hall. Standing on that same step as he did just a few minutes ago. Starting grid 2, finishing runner-up, driver 25, Luke Cousins. But to our race winner then, top step of the podium twice, double win today, 260 points to his championship tally in total. Obviously loves Ellough Park, started pole position, won the race by over 2nd. Congratulations, driver number 9, James Reveler.
And we leave you once again with James Reveler picking up a winner's trophy. Club 100 now moves southwest to Dorset for round 5 of the championship and the old Clay Pigeon stomping ground of one Jensen Button in just 3 weeks' time. I hope you join me again for more top karting action on Just Racing Magazine.